In mythology, biblical fantasy, religion and spiritual conception there exists several different supernatural beings. The details vary based on tradition and cultural values and beliefs. It's widely thought that most witches channel ghosts, spirits and demonic forces. Saints are known to invoke the energy of other saints, angels, gods, and forces of true light. Vampires were long ago cursed by Apollo to never be the sun, however they feed upon mortals for life force which can counteract their negative behavior. They can mix as well, so there can be a saintly vampire, a saint witch, perhaps even an angel witch too. The saints, however, in popular theory widely summon the forces of healing, strength and truth, while the more accepted versions of nighttime peoples are usually attributed to the forces of evil and darkness. We know that we look past superficial states of living now to find a holy eternal place, which looks much different for everyone else, including variations on heaven and hell, both personal and general states of immortality. Darkness was always considered to be a shadow-void illusion, while light has long been known for royalty, truth and reality. Parts of everything combine, however, to various shades and hues of time, light and dreaming. The black dial is an expression of both simplicity and quiet luxury. In our new Seamaster Aqua Terra collection, Omega has given that timeless style a glossy lacquered finish. OmegaWatches.com/AquaTerraBlack. #Omega. #Seamaster. Water Moon Magazine. Saints, angels, vampires.
Now I've done my best. I know it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth. I didn't come here to London just to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand right here before the Lord of Song, with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah.
Water Moon Magazine Stern. Gleich Saints, Angels, Vampires.
The dark and twisted love story of King David and Bathsheba. King David was the second king of what was known at the time as the United Kingdom of Israel and Judah. Bathsheba was married to another man, a soldier named Uriah. When David saw Bathsheba bathing on the roof, he was mesmerized by her beauty and asked that she be brought to him. David and Bathsheba began a passionate love affair, and eventually, Bathsheba became pregnant. Desperate to cover up the scandal, David plotted a scheme to get Uriah back home so that Uriah could sleep with Bathsheba. The idea was to try to pass the baby off as Uriah's child.
Water Moon Magazine Stern. Gleich Saints, Angels, Vampires. www.musicrotto.com/halleluja-song-meaning-history/.
And I remember when I moved in you. And the holy dove she was moving too. And every single breath we drew was hallelujah. Well, maybe there's a God above. As for me, all I've ever learned from love is how to shoot somebody who outdrew you. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof.
USAW her batting on the roof.
Her beauty and the moonlight overthrew her. She tied you to a kitchen chair. She broke your throne, and she cut your hair. And from your lips she drew the hallelujah.
Water Moon Magazine Stern. Gleich Saints, Angels, Vampires.
It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth. The minor falls, the major lifts. The baffled king composing hallelujah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Saint Star Operator Blackheart Gothic. At Saint Gothic. Now I've heard there was a secret chord that David played, and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you?
The saints of the Church are a diverse group of people with varied and interesting stories. Their ranks include martyrs, kings and queens, missionaries, widows, theologians, parents, nuns and priests, and everyday people who dedicated their lives to the loving pursuit of God. How starfish walk. This is the first flower ever grown entirely in space.
Ce jour-là le 23 juin 1213, mourait Marie d'Oigny. Figure indissociable du prieuré d'Oigny, elle était gratifiée de visions célestes et menait une vie d'ascète.
Prayer beads.
Apprenez en plus sur cette mystique dans notre exposition #TrésorOigny.
Sparkles. Translated from French by #ce jour-là on June 23, 1213, Marie d'Oigny died. An inseparable figure from the Priory of Oignies, she was blessed with celestial visions and led an ascetic life. Learn more about this mystique in our exhibition #TrésorD'Oignies. www.twitter.com/worldandscience/status/1804203416056389684. Credit: Scott Kelly/NASA. Happy full moon.
There is indeed evil in the shadows, where the full armor of faith. The goddess with wings and owl feet reminds us a lot of a bird goddess, as we know, quite popular in the region. The British Museum paid £1.5 million to a Japanese art collector for the exceptionally large plaque bearing her image and gave her the name Queen of the Night. She was known as Inanna in Sumerian and as Ishtar in the other main Mesopotamian language, Akkadian. Stylistic comparisons and modern dating tests agree that this unusually fine clay artifact was fired during the reign of Hammurabi, 1792–1750 BC, who expanded the small city-state of Babylon into a trading empire renowned for its scientific, literary, and artistic prowess. Fortunately, substantial traces of paint have survived through the centuries, and the museum has been able to create a digital reconstruction approximating her appearance. With her black hair, red ochre body, brightly patterned feathers and weighty golden jewelry, her eye sockets are now hollow, but they were probably inlaid with fine blue lapis lazuli and white shell. Her legs, resembling those of the owls flanking her on either side, grip two lions that hold themselves alert as if on guard. At the bottom, the rows of scales are depicting mountains and hills, all symbols of the Great Mother Goddess. You don't have to identify to any particular religion to take on the spirit of a saint, angel, or vampire. In fact, in some religions the angels and saints are interchangeable, it all depends on where you look. Psalms 5 verse 6. You destroy those who tell lies. The bloodthirsty and deceitful you, Lord, detest. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? Jeremiah 179. You live in the midst of deception, in their deceit they refuse to acknowledge me, declares the Lord. Michelangelo, Sistine Chapel, Detail. For such people are false apostles, deceitful workers, masquerading as apostles of Christ. A sentinel of dreams, whispering silent things. Death of the Veiled King, circa 1893, by Charlotte Major Wiley. This is where Stinson's comes from. Saint Stephen. Saint Stephen was one of the first ordained deacons of the Church. He was also the first Christian martyr. The Greek word from which we derive the English word martyr literally means witness. In each case the argument for sainthood would be rebutted by a devil's advocate, a person appointed by the Church to argue against the case for sainthood. Church qualifications. Regardless, one can achieve sainthood by many ways without the blessing of a church even. Bishops stepped in to oversee the process, and around 1200, Pope Alexander III, outraged over the proliferation, decreed that only the Pope had the power to determine who could be identified as a saint. Over the next few centuries, however, sainthood was extended to those who had defended the faith and led pious lives. With the criteria for canonization not as strict, the number of saints soared by the 6th and 7th centuries. In the Catholic faith, only God can make a saint. These four are among those who have emerged as individuals who can light the way ahead, as the modern Catholic Encyclopedia puts it. Within the Orthodox tradition, the order of the saints begins with the Theotokos, angels, prophets, apostles, fathers, and martyrs, giving the Virgin Mary precedence over the angels. In 993, Saint Ulrich of Augsburg was the first saint to be formally canonized, by Pope John XV. A list of people who died just prior to babies slaughtered in an effort to eliminate the newborn king of the Jews, or during the 1st century, who have received recognition as saints. Chronological list of saints in the 1st century, Wikipedia. More than 70 million Christians have been martyred over the past 2 millennia. Millions of people were put to death by being saints, millions of martyrs, millions and not thousands like the witches, but millions. That's why it's All Saints Hallows Eve. Halloween and All Saints Eve. All Saints Eve, or All Hallows Eve, and Halloween fall on the same day each year, October 31st. October 31st, many Americans celebrate Halloween, and some celebrate All Saints Eve or All Hallows Eve. The following day is celebrated by Catholics and Anglican Christians as All Saints' Day, which is followed by All Souls' Day, or Dia de los Muertos in Mexican tradition. Halloween, after the Romans conquered ancient Celtic realms, pagan traditions were adopted into a holiday honoring Catholic saints. In the Americas, church rituals mixed with native celebrations of ancestors, such as those of the Mayans and Incans, who greatly revered the dead. Tiara, cast glass, French jet, mounted on metal. Bohemia, now Czech Republic, 1880–90. Victoria and Albert Museum.